Be sure to comment, subscribe, and click the notifications bell.
1, 2, 3.
Raw, SmackDown, Nitro. Some of the greatest moments in wrestling history have happened on these shows. But have you ever wondered what else happened on these shows with these great moments? Well, welcome to What Else Happened. In our inaugural episode, we're going to take a look at the infamously Finger Poke of Doom. This happened on WCW Monday Nitro, January the 4th, 1999. The first Nitro of the new year, happening from Atlanta, Georgia, in the Georgia Dome, sold out arena in Goldberg's hometown. And we open up tonight's show with a promo package from Starrcade 98, the ending of Starrcade 98. If you have not seen it, I suggest you go watch it, because you'll be in the dark exactly what happens. Basically, it was Kevin Nash versus Goldberg, and Goldberg's streak ended in Las Vegas, Nevada, where Kevin Nash got the assistance from Scott Hall. Jackknife powerbombed him in the middle of the ring for a 1-2-3 victory, and in a very controversial moment in WCW history, we opened up with that package highlighting of the main event. There was no classic opening theme tonight for the WCW Nitro opening, but we did get the Nitro Girls. The Nitro Girls, who are very, very infamous in WCW. Who I would like to say that, you know, it was different. It was different back then, having women dancing in the ring and, you know, not having them being actual wrestlers. So it was refreshing to see back then. Don't want to see it today by any means, because today we definitely want to see women in the ring wrestling, not being showcased as only sex objects. But it was nice seeing the Nitro Girls. It brought me back to the time when I was little, when I got a hard on for Spice. But nevertheless, though, that we opened up with that. And we also opened up with Tony Schiavone, Mike Tenay, and Larry Zbyszko, the three commentators for the first hour, as they build up tonight's show with the WCW World Championship, the rematch between Goldberg and Kevin Nash, which is scheduled for tonight. And also, as well, Ric Flair being the new president of WCW as well. So apparently we're going to be hearing from Ric Flair tonight. And also, as well, supposed to be hearing from Hulk Hogan as well. And with Hulk Hogan's first appearance from retiring from wrestling on Thanksgiving night on the Tonight Show. So there was 3 big things tonight that we were all looking forward to here on the show, and let's see how the show goes. Okay, so we opened up with a Nitro party segment that was going on in the Georgia Dome. Basically, a fan won a grand prize to have his own party during Monday Nitro at the Georgia Dome. He was drunk as shit, and the show just began, and they were already drunk as hell. Really nothing to this segment whatsoever, except for woo! Woo! Nitro! Goldberg! That's all we got in that segment. The first match of the night gives us Glacier, aka Sub-Zero. And, you know, when I was a kid, I really thought this guy was Sub-Zero. I was a stupid kid. Very stupid. Yeah. I regret for even liking this guy when I was a kid. But he went up against Bill DeMott, aka Hugh Morris, aka General Erection. Yeah, went up against Bill DeMott, who was the head trainer of NXT, who got fired for, ironically, bullying the NXT incoming prospects. Bullying. I think somebody should be fired for bullying, right? Nah, never mind. This match sucked. This match sucked to open up the show. Why did this match open up the show? I have no fucking idea. I guess they were trying to rebuild back up Hugh Morris. This is his return to WCW after being away for a few months. And nothing really happened. Nothing really much to say about this match. It was very short. And Hugh Morris wins with a moonsault, which was called the No Laughing Matter. So, it wasn't anything to hold over in this match here. But Hugh Morris wins in the first match of this episode. After the match ends, we go to the commentators table where we see Larry Zbyszko, Mike Tenay, and Tony Schiavone recapping on what to expect for tonight, including Ric Flair becoming the new WCW president and Hulk Hogan coming out in his first public appearance since announcing his retirement on the Thanksgiving edition of The Tonight Show with Jay Leno. Random, I know. He announced his retirement on a fucking talk show. Weren't you just feuding with this guy in the summer and now all of a sudden you are friends with him again and you want to announce your retirement on The Tonight Show? Whatever. They come to a recap of what happened on the previous Monday Nitro. Ric Flair came out in one of his most epic promos of all time, where he stripped down to his boxers in the ring and basically challenging Eric Bischoff to a career versus control of the company match. If Ric Flair loses, his career is over. He will sign over his house, his clothes, his money, his assets to Eric Bischoff. Or, if Ric Flair wins, he will get control of WCW for 90 days. Well, the match happened last week. Ric Flair gets control of WCW after some assistance from the Macho Man Randy Savage and others like Booker T and Diamond Dallas Page, where we see Ric Flair apply the figure 4 leg lock for the win. We come back from commercial break and we see the Flair family and Arn Anderson arriving in a limousine, as they should, to the Georgia Dome in Atlanta. We see David Flair, we see Ric Flair, God rest his soul, Arn Anderson, and Charlotte, I will become the women's champion. You, Bailey, will fall to me. You will fall to the queen. Naomi, I will eliminate you. Error, error, error. Charlotte model 2756, ready to exhilarate the human race. We see Charlotte. We see Charlotte, a young Charlotte Flair, coming onto the ring with her daddy as well, along with the Four Horsemen. Of course, we have Mongo McMichael. Oh my God, Mongo McMichael was a Four Horseman. Oh my goodness, Dean Malenko and Chris Benoit. Oh man, just tonight's just, it's already starting. I'm already getting to the feels. Like, you see, you know, David Flair there, Ric Flair who passed away. You see, you know, Dean Malenko there. You see Chris Benoit there. You see Charlotte there. A lot of wrestling history, like, right there in that room, which became history in the future, which is very fucking strange looking back at it now at this. Flair, family, and the Four Horsemen finally make it down to the ring. We got to see the gorilla position in the back. We normally did not get to see stuff like that back in the day in WCW or in WWF, where we get to see the gorilla position, which was kind of a cool nuance to see back then. Ric Flair calls out Eric Bischoff as his first order of business. Bischoff comes down to the ring. Flair tells Bischoff that for the past 5 years when he was in control of WCW, he said that he felt that Eric Bischoff made him feel small compared to Randy Savage and Hulk Hogan, which was definitely true because Ric Flair didn't really get to do much past 1994. He was the World Heavyweight Champion going into Bash on the Beach. After that, it was all Hulk Hogan, and pretty much Ric Flair was down the tube after that. He became World Heavyweight Champion again after that once, and where he lost to the Giant. But outside of that, he was totally right. And he said that the first order of business is to have Eric Bischoff become part of Tony Schiavone's team on the commentary table. Ric Flair say he can fire him. He can, you know, lessen half of his salary, which he did because he said, hey, you're not going to be on TV, so, you know, I'm going to go in half your salary. Like stuff like that in WCW because that's true. Like, if you really think about it in a shoot sense that, hey, if this guy's not on TV, if this guy's just going to be a backstage role, why will we pay him this much money? Yeah, you kind of figure that really goes on in the professional wrestling business. At least that's the way I would like to think, at least. Ric Flair then calls out Pee Wee Randy Anderson, the referee that Eric Bischoff fired a few weeks ago on WCW Nitro, and Ric Flair, being himself, hired back Randy Anderson for being a longtime referee of 18 years and doubled his salary in the process. good moment there of the show. They made it seem legit. And also on top of that as well, in a shoot sense, it makes sense again because, you know, if one of your longtime tenure referees gets fired unexpectedly from, you know, from the last president of WCW, in a shoot sense, if you really want the top, you know, talents in the world, referees included, you will hire them back and double their salary to make up the lost time and to make up, to make things right of the prior regime. Flair went on to thank DDP, Booker T, and even this guy that they don't see eye to eye with, Macho Man Randy Savage. Thank those guys for helping them last week of becoming the new president for WCW, which I thought was good. They mentioned Randy Savage as well. Even though they don't see eye to eye, I like that stuff. I like when, especially in WCW, and I really thank Flair for this one here, that even a heel, even a guy that you don't really like, you can appreciate actually helping you, and I like that little touch that Ric Flair did there. Ric Flair then went on to say that at Sold Out, which is the next WCW pay-per-view, that he wants a handicap match against Barry Windham and Curt Hennig. And he just booked himself into the match because he's the WCW president. But wait, David Flair, he steps up to the plate and says, you know what, Dad? I've been watching ever since I was little when you guys were part of the Four Horsemen back in the day, and I want to help you go up against Curt Hennig and Barry Windham at Sold Out. And Ric Flair at first, he was like, you know what, you're not ready, kid, you're not ready. You know, I appreciate it, but you're not ready. Then Arn Anderson just nudges Flair and says, he knows what he's doing, he's ready. That's all Ric Flair did. He just needed approval from Arn Anderson, his best friend, to say that, hey, sure, son, you never had any wrestling training before, but sure, let's get in the ring against, you know, possibly one of the greatest workers of all time, of Curt Hennig, and a great worker as well of Barry Windham. Sure, whatever, right? Okay. End of segment. Now, I like this segment overall. I thought it went a little bit too long, but it got three things across that kind of made it long. The handling of Eric Bischoff, or what Ric Flair is going to do with Eric Bischoff and put him at the commentator's table. Number two, Randy Anderson being hired back by Ric Flair. And number three, setting up that tag team match for Sold Out between Curt Hennig, Barry Windham, and the Flairs. We come back from commercial break and we see a match between Booker T versus a jobber. Who the fuck you think won this match? Honestly, who you think won this match? Booker T came in the ring. It was a very short match. He did a spinner Rooney. He did a Harlem sidekick. He won with a missile drop kick from the top rope. What else do you need to know? Booker T won this match. After the match, we come back from a commercial break. We see the Nitro Girls perform again. Second time tonight. Second of many times tonight that we're going to be seeing the Nitro Girls. And we're ready for our third match already of the evening, which will be Chavo Guerrero versus Norman Smiley. Now, there was one thing about this match that I really like. Not really anything with the wrestling itself, but with the commentary. The commentary in this gave you the illusion that Norman Smiley's Starrcade win, because he won at Starrcade, it made it seem somehow that he was on the right track and that could change his mindset of him possibly becoming a world champion type of wrestler in WCW. Even though we know as an audience that that may not happen, that most likely won't happen to a Norman Smiley, but they gave us the illusion saying, hey, this guy has a chance. He's a great wrestler. They put over Smiley very well, even though that we already know that he may not win the world title, but they gave us that illusion that he may try to win, which I definitely like. I definitely enjoy stuff like that. As for this match itself, it was very fast-paced. There were some good spots in this match. Now, there was some... It was a bit good and bad, actually. It was some good spots in this match, but it has some bad botches at times. And, actually, they're all made from Chavo Guerrero. There was at one point where Chavo was trying to go on the outside through the middle ropes and trying to hang himself on the apron, but it didn't really work out. Then he tried to spring back into the ring through the middle rope and try to do a roll-up on Norman Smiley, and it looked all kind of botchy. They were going great. It was a fast-paced match, but I think they were moving a little bit too fast. Basically, this match ends with Chavo Guerrero rolling up Norman Smiley for the win, And after the match, Norman Smiley immediately has a heel turn all of a sudden and attacks Chavo Guerrero from behind. So Norman Smiley turns heel, I guess. After that, we go to commercial break. And then we come back from a commercial break. And already coming down to the ring is Horace Hogan versus Chris Benoit. No entrances, nothing of that nature, which I sometimes like in wrestling. If you just want the cruiserweights, for example, on Monday Night Raw, because we know the cruiserweights on Monday Night Raw is being treated like shit right now at this point in time, on this date as I'm recording this here in 2017. We know that commercial breaks really hurt the wrestlers, especially in any company, especially on Monday Night Raw when they have the cruiserweights. And I think I attend to that because their entrances, I know their entrances are very short, but if they can eliminate the entrances, if they can just show the tail end of an entrance as they come back from commercial break with somebody else in the ring already, I think that could do wonders for the cruiserweights. But hey, maybe I'm an asshole thinking about stuff like this, but hey, I like stuff like that. Just get straight into the match. You don't have to have both guys come out. Just have to go straight into the match and wrestle. With this match here, that's what happened. Horace Hogan was already in the ring. He went up against Chris Benoit. Oh my god. So weird seeing Chris Benoit here. This match was pretty good. I mean, of course, if you got Benoit in it, you know, it's going to be a good match. But it was mostly Benoit. And Horace Hogan, he wasn't too bad either. But it was mostly Benoit with the multiple German suplexes, with the diving headbutt, you know. And he wins, you know, with a crippler crossface to Horace Hogan. Now, one thing to note as well, Randy Anderson, what we just talked about a couple moments ago, was in this match as well, refereeing. So he already went back to work, and the commentators touched on that, saying that, hey, Randy Anderson, he just got hired back by Ric Flair, and now he's working double the salary. They're staying very consistent on the storylines, and, you know, and actually staying consistent on the way that they keep things going in WCW. You may not agree with everything that they're doing as far as the booking is concerned, but they try to stay consistent as much as they can. Even more consistent than what Monday Night Raw does and WWE SmackDown does nowadays. After the match ends, we go backstage where we see Bill Goldberg being arrested. He arrives to the arena and he's already being arrested. He's surrounded by cops. He has a warrant out for his arrest. For what reason? We're going to find out shortly. This is one of the most infamous moments and one of the, probably the single point of where WCW officially dropped the ball with Bill Goldberg. Making him look weak. Making him look like, you know, handcuffs can stop Bill Goldberg. And that's what happened here tonight. Handcuffs stopped Bill Goldberg from getting to where he needs to go to, and that was being in the Georgia Dome to have his rematch against Kevin Nash for the World Heavyweight title tonight. Now, there's one thing I do give WCW credit for, despite me bashing this whole segment and me personally thinking this was the point and downfall turn of Bill Goldberg's career in WCW. They did a fantastic job in this segment, making it seem real. And what I mean by that is, Goldberg was there. He knew one of the police officers. His name was Jack. Whether if that's his real name or not, whether if he really knew that cop or not, Goldberg was like, hey, we've been friends for years. What's going on? You know I'm not capable of anything. Why do I have a warrant out for my arrest? What's the warrant for? And Jack was like, you know, I know you're not capable of that, Bill. I know you're not. But, you know, we just got to take you down to the station. We got a question. You know, we just got a question about a few things. You know, if everything's good, we'll let you go. I like that stuff because they don't do shit like that. They never really have done anything like that in WWE, where if you're in someone's hometown, it's a very possibility, if you're famous, that you may know people there in the community. It appears that Goldberg knows his police officer in his hometown of Atlanta, Georgia, and I like stuff like that. I really do. I wish that WWE could, you know, could acclimate that in certain situations, but they never really do that. And I really, at the end of the day, it really doesn't matter, I guess, but it's just something refreshing to look at when you're watching a wrestling product. We go to commercial break, and after we come back, we see Goldberg being escorted by the police officers in handcuffs to the police cruiser and being put into the back of the police cruiser as they go to the police station. After Goldberg's put into the car, we immediately see Kevin Nash for the first time tonight come outside and say, hey, what's going on? This is bogus. Well, why is he being arrested for? Then the cops were trying to push away Kevin Nash. Kevin Nash, get your hands off me. Which I thought was pretty good, building up the treatment for tonight. As the police cruiser drives away, we see Hulk Hogan arrive to the arena. Everything just flows so smoothly in this segment. I really like this segment right here. It just flows so smoothly into this segment where we saw Hulk Hogan saying that, yeah, I'm a politician. I'm going to be the next president of the United States. And I can tell you that that man is guilty. He is guilty, Kevin Nash. And pretty much the segment ends up seeing Hulk Hogan walking in the back. And we saw, for a reason, we saw 2 detectives and Miss Elizabeth at the end of the segment. Do you think that has anything to do with anything? Nah, I don't think so. After that segment, we get our next match, our 5th match of the night already, and we're barely halfway through this show. We're already getting 5 matches tonight. We're going to see Perry Saturn versus Chris Jericho. My most over version of Chris Jericho when he was with Ralphus, when he was doing the whole Ayatollah, well, it wasn't really the Ayatollah Rock and Rolla as of yet, but the Jericho Holics. Oh yeah, I fucking love this Chris Jericho so much. The cocky, the whining crybaby heel. I love it. I love this Jericho. I loved him then. I knew he was a heel. This is where I started first liking heels over baby faces, was with this Chris Jericho back in late 1998, 1999. He faces off against Perry Saturn, and he was doing a fantastic job being a heel in this match. And this match overall was pretty good. One of the best matches of the night. I probably have to put it up there with the top 3 matches of the night. Because we had 10 fucking matches on the show, believe it or not. But he played fantastic as a heel, where he does, the little scoop slam and, does the fucking pose. Come on, baby! Pinfall with the foot in the chest. Fucking amazing. It, like, watching Chris Jericho now to Chris Jericho then, and I'm talking about his wrestling, is pretty much the same thing. He wrestles exactly the same as he does on Monday Night Raw. That's why I still love Chris Jericho to this day. That's why I'm wearing a Raw is Jericho t-shirt during this review. Ironic, it wasn't even supposed to happen like that, but I'm wearing that t-shirt during this review here, just because of the fact that I love Chris Jericho. This match here wasn't great, but it was great seeing that heel persona Jericho. It was great seeing Perry Saturn too as well. Don't want to brush him to the side. He was doing his suplexes, belly suplexes, was doing his nice work in this match as well. But the way that this match is, Chris Jericho pulls the referee into Perry Saturn as he was about to do a lion salt or a springboard, like a springboard cross body, and pretty much the referee bumped into Perry Saturn, and Chris Jericho somehow wins by getting Perry Saturn disqualified because he got bumped into the referee. Very weird ending, a very screwjob-like ending, but there's going to be answers to this match a little bit later on tonight. Goldberg is at the police station. He's coming into the police station, he's being checked in, and he is sat down in one of the rooms, and Goldberg's like, okay, what the hell is this about? Why am I here? And the police officer was like, do you know Miss Elizabeth? And he was like, yeah, Miss Elizabeth? Yeah, what about her? Well, it looks like she filed a aggravated stalking charge against you. And Goldberg's like, stalking? And this right here, this segment, and these police segments tonight, you're going to hear me go back and forth with the police stations tonight. This is one of the worst things I ever seen in wrestling. I'm going to be flat out honest with you. Even worse than the finger poke of doom, which we're going to talk about a little bit later tonight in this show. I think this was fucking awful. The acting is horrible. The way that they did these segments were fucking god-awful. When I talk about Miss Elizabeth in a little bit, God rest her soul, but her acting was not one of her first jobs. I can fucking tell you that shit right now. Fucking terrible. basically, long story short, they're saying that Miss Elizabeth's here. We're going to question her, get her side of the story, get your side of the story, and we're going to see who's right and who's telling the truth. After that shit segment, we come back from commercial break and we get the Nitro Girls. We get their calendar ad. That their calendar was only for $15 back then. Well, you know, huh? If I had $15 back then, man, I'll get that fucking calendar. I'll be masturbating to those pictures every single night. Especially the Spice. Spice. I had a huge crush on Spice when I was a kid. Like, you know, when I was a kid, you know, back in 1999 this was, I wasn't 10 yet, or I was 10, I wasn't 11 yet because I was born in 88, but I felt some thunder down under for the first time, I thought, when I used to see Spice come out on, you know, Monday Nitro. I felt some thunder down under. After the Nitro Girls ad, we see the Nitro Girls perform again, as we're going to see many, many times tonight here during this show. After the Nitro Girls finish performing, we go back up to the Nitro party where we see two fucking morons thumb wrestling. We see a drunk fucking out of his fucking mind guy who actually won this Nitro party, and he says that, I'm having a good time. Are you having a good time, Jordan from Chicago? Jordan from Chicago? Are they talking about Michael Jordan here? Because I don't fucking know. But this segment was awful. You got popcorn flying around, drinks flying around. It was terrible. Thank God this was the last time that we saw this in the show tonight. We now go back to the police station where we see Miss Elizabeth there with two detectives. Miss Elizabeth is explaining her story on how Goldberg is stalking her. She's saying that Goldberg follows her to the gym, to the Marriott Hotel, and even to the actual wrestling shows. You know, where all the other wrestlers are at. Well, Miss Elizabeth, she's gonna stick by her story. The two detectives say, okay, we're gonna reevaluate, and we'll be right back with you in a moment, in a segment. We come back from commercial break, and where we see one of the worst vignettes I've seen in a while. The LWO vignette. This went on way too long. It's apparently the members of the LWO, Eddie Guerrero, Psychosis, you know, El Dandy, all those guys there, having a party, and basically just nothing but, you know, I guess kind of degrading, in my opinion, Hispanic stereotypes like lowriders, ay rico suave. You know, you got a lot of cholas there. If you guys don't know what chola is, look up chola on Google, and you'll be like, oh, okay, I know what you're talking about now. But pretty much, this segment was horrible. There was even one point in the segment where Eddie asked the ladies, hey, do you want a soda? When the women are already holding beers in their hands already. So, does that make sense? It doesn't make any sense to me, but, yeah, this is horrible, and I would say definitely skip this part of the show. Once you do reach up to this part of the show, just skip it. We then move on to our next match of the night, where we see a tag team tornado match between Kidman, who's the Cruiserweight Champion, Rey Mysterio, versus the LWO members of Psychosis and Juventud Guerrera. Now, this match overall was possibly one of the best matches of the night. I'm going to put that in my top 3 best matches of the night. And these guys got a lot of their offense in. You know, Rey was looking fucking fantastic. Young Rey Mysterio, Juventud, Psychosis, Kidman, they all look great. It was about 10 minutes of non-stop action. A very high work rate between, you know, all 4 of these guys in this match. And the only thing I did not like was not necessarily something from the match itself, but it took 15 minutes between the last match and this match to even happen. So the last wrestling matches that we had prior and this match now, it took 15 minutes, which was pretty fucking, you know, pathetic in my opinion. But even in real time, it probably took even 30 minutes with the fucking commercials, because there was at least two breaks in between. So about 30 minutes actually between the last match and this match here. But despite that, very great work rate. You see the LWO pick up the upset victory, and some eyes may see it, with Psychosis hitting a guillotine leg drop on Rey Mysterio. Overall, a fucking great match on WCW Nitro. Before we go to our next break, we see Goldberg back at the police station again, and it's the same shit. I'm innocent. I didn't do anything. Take these handcuffs off of me. I got a match with Kevin Nash tonight for the WCW World Title, and it's the same shit, and we go to a commercial break. We come back from the commercial break where we see Mean Gene Okerlund at ringside, and Mean Gene calls down Kevin Nash, and Kevin Nash comes down to the ring. He requested for his interview time. And basically, I like this right here because you don't really see things like this anymore where you actually see a in-ring, interview. Usually it's backstage for the most part in WWE. Now, recently, we did see Jinder Mahal get an interview in the ring with Renee Young on SmackDown Live, but we really don't see anything like this anymore in wrestling, which is very refreshing to see here in this episode of WCW Nitro. Nash says that Goldberg got screwed at Starrcade, so Goldberg and Bret Hart have something in common, I guess, losing at big pay-per-view events while getting screwed in the process. Nash believes that Hulk Hogan is the reason why that Goldberg got arrested earlier in the night. He also calls down Ric Flair to the ring. Nash wants a match against Hulk Hogan tonight because he still believes that he's going to face off against Goldberg anyway for the world title, so might as well get a warmer match against Hulk Hogan. Sounds good, right? Now, looking back at this in hindsight, this match actually makes sense for it to happen. I mean, think about it. I mean, the fans were promised a world title match in that big crowd in the Georgia Dome. Ric Flair is the new president of WCW, doesn't want to accept the fans in any way possible. So why not have the world champion Kevin Nash versus Hulk Hogan, the biggest wrestler in the world today, make them have a world title match in that sea of people, over 40,000 people in Atlanta, Georgia. I hate to say it, but this actually made sense in a kayfabe sense in this situation. After that segment, we go back to the police station where we see Miss Elizabeth again, acting as horrible as she ever done in her life. This time, the story has switched up. She changed a little parts of her story this time. And the police was, asking her all these questions, and she gets upset, saying, "I'm the victim! I'm the victim!" And it doesn't really sit well with me. It didn't really sit well with me at all. Like I said, her acting is terrible. I mean, the whole acting of everybody in these scenes have been absolutely god-awful, and it's getting worse and worse as the show goes on. So Miss Elizabeth gets upset. Then the detective asks Miss Elizabeth to calm down, calm down. We're going to let you be for a little bit. And, we're going to be right back in a little bit. And that was the end of the segment. It was 3 minutes wasted of our time for no fucking reason. We come back from commercial break and we see Mean Gene Okerlund weighing in the ring to interview. Hogan comes down to ring for his very first interview since he announced his retirement on the Tonight Show back on Thanksgiving night. Hogan gets into the ring and he states that the wrestling world still revolves around him. Hulk Hogan agrees to come out of retirement for just one night only to go up against Kevin Nash for the WCW World Heavyweight Championship. After the promo, we go to one of the most infamous moments ever in professional wrestling. This is the moment that Tony Schiavone made the very controversial remarks that Mick Foley, who once wrestled here as Cactus Jack, is going to win their world title. That's going to put a lot of butts in the seat. Blech. Oh my goodness. We knew that WWF was taped at the time. We knew that, they were going live on some shows, but not all their shows. But I forgot that this moment happened on the same night as the Finger Poke of Doom. So not only you had the Finger Poke of Doom, you had this moment on the same exact night. This episode could have been about that and the Finger Poke of Doom in the same episode. I mean, it is absolutely crazy that WCW made two fatal mistakes in one program. Oh my goodness. One horrible booking decision and one decision that turned away about 1 million people, because 1 million people, was the approximate number that turned the channel to watch Mick Foley win the WWF Championship. And this is one of those moments in professional wrestling history that me watching as a kid for sure, with Mick Foley win the WWF Championship, a moment that I will never forget, and definitely a moment I don't think any of you guys out there will ever forget. We come back from a commercial break and we see a WCW MasterCard spot with DDP. Fucking amazing. I remember my friend's dad had one of these WCW cards. I believe he had the Kevin Nash one, if I'm not mistaken. And you know, it's just funny. It's just funny seeing, you know, this ad back then, because you don't see stuff like this now. Can you imagine a WWE MasterCard now? You know, who'll be the wrestlers on there? You got people who have Roman Reigns with Cockfist. You know, you got Kevin Owens. You know, you got fucking Seth Rollins on there, Finn Balor, John Cena, of course. You know what I mean? It's so crazy. But now with this, you had Lex Luger, you had, you know, Sting and Hogan and, you know, the Nitro Girls. And speaking of Nitro Girls, we get to see DDP's ex-wife on the right side. Yeah, as you see there on the right side, there's Kimberly right next to him. So that's a nice little nugget there that we get to see Paige and Kimberly next to each other, as they probably were still married at the time. And happily married? Probably doubt it, but still married nevertheless. But very cool moment and very cool ad to see here. After the commercial's over, we see Chris Jericho backstage with the same referee that referees match earlier tonight. But this happened early in the day before the match actually happened. Are you confused yet? I hope you are. Jericho says that Saturn has been taking advantage of the referee as of late in the ring, and that the next time that Saturn touches the referee to disqualify him and take control and be a man. Well, that explains why that Saturn got disqualified earlier in the night, which is great heel heat by Chris Jericho. Chris Jericho was great at manipulating referees and other people in situations like this to get cheap wins. And this is another reason number 85,000, why Chris Jericho is one of my favorite heels in the WCW era. We go on to our next match of the night, where we see Scott Steiner, the World Television Champion, with Buff Bagwell go up against Conan. Now, between the last match and this match here was about 25 minutes. We had 3 breaks in between that time. In real life, that was about 40 minutes of real time between the last match and this match to happen. What the fuck, WCW? 40 fucking minutes? Are you fucking serious? Before the match begins, Scott Steiner gets into the ring and does one of his Freaks promos. It was one of the first time he actually was doing these promos in WCW. During the match, Tony Schiavone again bashes Mick Foley about becoming WWE World Champion in the night. And he buries him, saying that that's gonna be their world champion. Yuck. I mean, he's basically discussing that Foley is becoming the WWE champion. And again, another sick ploy by WCW to bury one of their former talents, which at the end of the night, really bite them in the ass. As for this match itself, it didn't really do anything for me. There was a lot of botches in this match between two guys that can actually work well, so I was quite disappointed in the match. The match ends in disqualification. Are you fucking surprised? Of course you're not, it's WCW, right? Steiner gets the upper hand on Conan along with Buff Bagwell, while Steiner puts Conan into the Steiner recliner. The referee, Slick Johnson, comes down to the ring, who was the NWO ref at the time, and pretends to call for the bell and have Steiner be the actual winner of the match. Which is, again, confusing as shit, because there was an NWO ref and there's a WCW ref, so who's really the referee? But this is more of a comedy spot where Slick Johnson, he had, you know, black tape underneath his eyes, had a whistle calling for the bell, so it looked kind of funny, but it didn't really do much for me in this whole entire situation. We come back from commercial break and we see an ad for WCW Sold Out, the next pay-per-view to come for WCW. We see images of a camera winding down the road and images of various wrestlers. Not anything special, but a cool little 30 seconds to see on a old school pay-per-view from WCW. We move on to our next segment of the night, where we see Wrath coming down to the ring. And as he was coming down to the ring, the commentator stated that they have not heard anything from the police station about the Goldberg situation. They'll keep you up to date. Wrath comes out in the ring and cuts a promo saying that for the last 6 months that he's been plowing the competition in WCW, and that he has no competition right now. Sounds like Braun! And calls out anybody in the back for a match. Really, this was a nothing promo. I mean, this is a very generic promo from Wrath. I mean, he was never great on the mic, but this is at the time where they were trying something different in WCW. They were trying to push another guy, and this did not really work out. for him as a singles guy. As a tag team guy, yes, but as a singles guy, and for him to cut a promo like that was really nothing special at all. Wrath waits on his opponent as Bam Bam Bigelow comes out to the ring. And wow, Bam Bam Bigelow, the commentators were shocked about it, the fans got a big pop for it, so I wanted to really see this match. Until we got another brawl on the outside that quickly became a double countout. Oh, are you shocked? So we got disqualifications and double countouts in this show. Are you really shocked, people, at this point? I don't think so. Also during this match as well, we hear Eric Bischoff say something on commentary for the first time all night in reference to the Goldberg situation of him being in the police station, calling him jailbait and a prison punk. Good lord, was that the best that Eric Bischoff could come up with? Jailbait and prison punk? Now I know this was still PG back then for WCW. They didn't turn into TV14 until later that year. But you can say something better than jailbait and prison punk. This ain't the 1960s, for God's sakes. We cut away from the arena and we go back to the police station where we see the detectives question Miss Elizabeth once again to get her story straight. And this was the most cringe-worthy thing of the night. Horrible acting. Cringe level was over 5,000 in this segment. Once again, Miss Elizabeth gives a completely different story. Once again, she doesn't know what she's talking about. And once again, the deer in the headlights look on her face and also on the detectives' faces was really embarrassing to see. I don't know how anybody will like this happen back then, and even now it's even worse today, probably what it was back in 1999. After finding out that Miss Elizabeth was lying, the detectives threatened to put Miss Elizabeth in jail for falsely reporting a crime. Miss Elizabeth states that it was not Bill the entire time. She thought it was another bald-headed wrestler because they all look alike. Are you fucking serious? Are you fucking kidding me? This is what WCW came up with to really deflate Bill Goldberg's character in WCW. To have Miss Elizabeth state that, oh, all bald-headed wrestlers look alike. Are you fucking kidding me? Get the fuck out of here. This segment was one of the worst times wasted on WCW all night. I mean, this totaled for about 45 minutes of the show out of the 3-hour program with these segments. These segments were absolutely god-awful. And I don't know. I wouldn't even wish this on my worst enemy. But that's the end of the segment, and Goldberg is going to be released from jail, apparently. We come in from the commercial break, and we see the Nitro Girls for the final time tonight. Then Shivani recaps on what happened in the last segment with Miss Elizabeth, and that he expects Goldberg to still be here tonight to wrestle Kevin Nash for the World Heavyweight Championship. We go on to our co-main event of the night where we see Bryan Adams, aka Crush, with Virgil, also known as Vincent. Oh my goodness. I refuse to call Virgil Vincent. Okay, and there's some people going to be in the comments like, he's Vincent in WCW, and he's Virgil in the WWF. Well, yeah, that's like saying, you know, Alberto Del Rio is Alberto El Patron in the Indians. I don't call Del Rio El Patron, okay? El Patron's Del Rio, Vincent's Virgil. Get over it. Versus Diamond Dallas Page. And Diamond Dallas Page was so over at the time in WCW, coming out through the fans, everyone throwing up the diamond cutter symbol. I mean, this guy was the epitome of over back in 1999 in WCW, and rightfully so, deserves to be in the Hall of Fame this year in WWE. This match overall, though, was pretty much nothing between Horace Hogan and Diamond Dallas Page. We just see the match end in a very quick fashion, with DDP hitting the Diamond Cutter out of nowhere from the top rope to Horace Hogan for the 1-2-3 pinfall. I wish we kind of had a better match from DDP and Horace here, because I love DDP, but this match wasn't really nothing to really hold yourself over. But overall, it was still good seeing DDP, still seeing him get a good pop back in the heyday when he was over his shit. After the match ends, we go back to the police station where we see Goldberg finding out that Miss Elizabeth was lying the entire time and that the charges was dropped against him and that he is free to go. Goldberg immediately asked for a ride to the Georgia Dome just in time for the main event. We go to commercial break. We come back from commercial break, and it is time for our main event of the evening. WCW champion Kevin Nash versus Hollywood Hogan, and what was billed as a main event all night long for the WCW championship. Bruce Buffer was in the ring introducing both wrestlers, and I'm pretty sure he was paid thousands just to be there in that one appearance. Hulk Hogan was introduced first, and he comes down to the ring in his street clothes, no ring attire whatsoever, with Scott Steiner. Nash comes down to the ring with a big pyro display, pointing to Hogan in the middle of the ring, and shockingly, no pun intended, Scott Hall comes out with Kevin Nash coming down to the ring, which was a surprise to the fans and to the commentators as well. The match begins, and do you guys really want me to go over this? You guys know exactly what happens. We know that Nash pushes Hogan into the corner. Hogan pretends to come back with a punch, pokes Nash in the chest. Nash falls back like if he got shot, like he was John F. Kennedy. Harley Kennedy assassination, getting shot with the most oversell bump, one of the most oversell bumps I've ever seen in my life. He learned that from Shawn Michaels, I can tell you that. Hogan gets on top of Nash for the 1-2-3 pinfall. They're all celebrating the ring. Nash, Hogan, Scott Steiner, everyone was there, pretty much celebrating, like, oh, we got you, we got the fans. And at the end of it all, in a storyline sense, a lot of this made sense. It didn't really make sense from the point where it was like, oh, this is a great booking decision. But the way that it all came together, it came together really well. Bischoff was finally on commentary talking that Goldberg should be in jail. You know what I mean? So Bischoff really gets his heat back, being on commentary the whole entire night, being silent the entire time for the most part. Coming back saying Goldberg should be in jail. What the hell is he doing here? And just mocking Goldberg when he was getting tasered by Scott Steiner, going, bleh, bleh. So great. Another great touch was that when Goldberg left the police station, he still had one handcuff on his right hand. So they used that in this situation at the end of the show where he got handcuffed to the ropes. Another great touch by WCW. Everything just all came together with the whole storyline of Nash wanting to face off against Hogan, and he needed to get the new president of WCW's permission of Ric Flair, because he know they could not go to Eric Bischoff and get the match. So everything came together. I don't agree with the booking, but the way that it all came together with multiple storylines all coming together as one, that's something that you really don't see in the WWE nowadays, that's for sure. Goldberg comes back to the arena and he bolts it to the ring, and we see Goldberg get into the ring, and the crowd pop was so loud that at times you can barely hear the commentary, which is fucking great. We never hear pops like that anymore in wrestling. We get every now and then, but majority of the time we don't really get pops like that. Goldberg attacks Steiner, Hall, Nash, and even Hogan after spearing Hogan. He was going to get Hogan up into the jackhammer position. We see Lex Luger come out to the ring apparently to help Goldberg. And as Goldberg was about to pick up Hogan for the jackhammer, Lex Luger immediately attacks Goldberg from behind with a double axe handle. We see Luger put Goldberg in the torture rack, and as everybody in the NWO was attacking Goldberg, spray paint his back in the red letters of the NWO as for the new Wolfpack, spraying the back of Goldberg's head, getting tasered, and just fans throwing debris into the ring. And and I wish we really see that in WWE nowadays, but we don't see that anymore, which is very unfortunate. But we go off the air with Kevin Nash and Hulk Hogan spray painting NWO on the WCW title. This time it's in red, very reminiscent to 1996. I wish we get moments like this again in the WWE, where we see a big faction, whether if we agree with the booking or not, a big faction like this that runs roughshod over the WWE. But only a man can. That is the end of the show, guys, and that is the Finger Polka Doom episode of WCW Monday Nitro. Overall, give it a 6 out of 10. There was a lot of short matches, but a lot of these matches had a high work rate for the most of them. I like the consistency in the storylines on how everything tying together at the end, as I mentioned a little bit earlier. But the down segments was obviously the police station segments, the LWO segments, and of course, Tony Schiavone burying Mick Foley of him being the WWE World Heavyweight Champion really hurt the show overall. I say give it a watch, but definitely skip the police segments, the LWO segment. And if you want to hear Schiavone talk about Mick Foley, that's fine. That's a famous moment in wrestling, so you may want to catch that as well. But yeah, definitely a show that you probably want to skip most of. But the main event you definitely want to see, because even though you agree with the booking or not, it's something that you may want to see just to see on how everything plays out with this here. Alright guys, well I am going to go and get out of here. If you guys like this video, be sure to leave a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, be sure to follow me on Twitter, and like my Facebook page where both links are down below, and let me know on what moment that you want to see me review on the next episode of What Else Happened. And I'll see you guys later. You guys have a great day. Peace out.